Alafia, I'm Dr. Gloria Lattimore Peace, host and producer of OmniU Presents The Art of Life show. Today we are talking about a very good subject. The title of the show is called In Our Own Images. And before we came on, I was having a conversation with two of my guests who are artists of some renown. I was talking to them about the importance of our projecting and preserving our own image, and of course we're all on the same page talking to the choir, because if we don't preserve and project our own image, then we will go down in history as Training Day and Monsters Ball, and that is not how we intend to go out. We're not going out like that, are we?
No.
All right, I have Andre Guichard here. He's a curator for the gallery at the South Shore Cultural Center.
Well, welcome. Thank you again for having me on your show, and I think your theme is so appropriate because it really puts the responsibility back on the collector to take control of passing on their culture and our history through collecting artwork. And I think for so long we've seen when people were ready to collect work, they might just collect the work of possibly a Caucasian artist as opposed to an artist who paints or creates things of our own image, which also is something that for our children, I think we need to see that as much as possible. And there's so much great art available to us right now, and so many wonderful artists that have a wide array of different types of artwork, that whatever your taste or your fancy, there's something that you can find that will meet your artistic needs.
But art is serious business.
Very serious.
We are not talking about art for art's sake. We are talking about the art of life on this show. And we're talking about for our lives. This is a matter of life and death, because we can live either as an exalted people or we can live as a reduced, subliminal sort of, non-person, non-entity. And certainly that's not how we came into being, and we certainly don't intend to stay here with that kind of image. And Melvin King has been a pioneer in showing us our best face over such a long period of time. I'm just so happy to have you here, Melvin.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, and thanks for inviting me again.
Okay, and you know, of course, that everyone knows your work. I mean, you have a stamp that when you do work, everyone says that's Melvin King, because no one does Melvin King the way that you do.
Well, I had to learn it the hard way. I couldn't afford classes. Been doing it since about 1938.
Really?
Drawing and painting of some kind,
Okay.
But it's been fruitful. It's been a blessing. I've been able to be a blessing to other people also, It's important that we as artists of color stay on the firing line, because we were in the background for so many years until we have got to take a stand now and move forward. And not only that, but we have to teach our younger artists how to maintain the forefront and to stay there and to pass it on to other generations coming up.
Well, we want to definitely make the point that painting and sculpting and photography and all the other art forms are not bourgeois pastimes. These are not things that one will engage in when one is bored, These are things that come from somewhere deep within.
That's right.
There's a longing and a thirst to create and to bring into being something that is a part of you and probably a part of your ancestry that you may not even recognize.
I think you bring up a wonderful point, because art really is so much a part of us and our history, and once we begin to realize that it's not just something like, I want to go buy a new car because it's this, it's so much deeper, and it's like a little piece of sunshine in our homes, and we get so much out of it when we have beautiful artwork in our homes. And I think this goes back to the theme of this whole show, in that we have to change the thinking, and I think it's an education for the consumers, that once they start to appreciate the value of collecting artists like Melvin King, myself, and some of the other artists we have in the studio, then they can find a love that's far greater than any other material acquisition that they've ever purchased, and it will last far longer, and they can pass on wealth to their family, and then their family, their offspring can pass on wealth and culture, which I think is so important and something we haven't done before. And it's just a great time that there's a large amount of wonderful artists and a larger amount of venues such as this, which every time I'm on this show, I have to say what Dr. Peace is doing, the H3O show, is truly a blessing. And it not only is great for artists, but it's a window for you to see some of the wonderful artists that are available to you, and even some of the events coming up.
And you know, in this environment where there's so much negativity, so much hostility, so much discussion of terrorism, it is amazing in one way that artists are still able to paint beautiful things, that you're still conceptualizing beauty and still expressing beauty. When I was in your home just a few days ago, Andre, and you know I almost lost it. I stumbled up on a painting. Andre and Jason have done a collaboration. They've done something together. One of the few times I've ever seen two artists work on the same canvas. Yeah, I've seen two pianists play at two pianos, but I have not seen two artists work on the same canvas. And when I walked into that room and saw it, I swallowed, I gasped, I choked, I almost lost consciousness because it was so beautiful. And we need that. We need to have things that are so beautiful that they overwhelm us and just take our breath away, because we have the other side of that experience is to be so traumatized and so terrified that you can't breathe. But to come upon something that is so beautiful that you can't, you have no words. You see, we
because
need
art
that.
is very spiritual.
Very.
Art is very, very spiritual. I think a true artist does it from his heart. You don't just do it looking for money or payout. A true artist will create just because he has that feeling to create, you know. And artists are starting to work together now on pieces. It's been done now for the past 10 years.
Oh, has it?
But just started in Chicago, creating pieces together.
Okay.
We just started that together
and
here
you know,
recently.
I have to give credit to Melvin King. I really look at Melvin as a mentor as well as a friend. And it was a conversation that we had maybe 2 months ago. And we're working together on a wonderful event coming up in July that we'll talk about later, and we talked about doing a collaboration. And ironically, that next month, Jason Jones and I were heading to Philadelphia for an exhibit. And I mentioned to him, I said, that would probably be a good idea for us to do a collaboration. And it's wonderful how older generation of artists can touch younger generations.
That's what it's about.
We create an electricity that touches everyone. And, you know, Dr. Peace, when she gasped,
And you say it look nice.
I said to
see
myself,
it.
my goodness, I thought something was wrong, and I'm looking down like she should be on the ground, and she's looking up, and it just speaks to how
Just the idea of two people, two artists.
Well, I didn't know it was
together.
two artists. I just knew that this work was so astounding. It was so beautiful. And then, of course, both Andre and Jason have their signatures.
Sure.
You know, and I saw the musical score. I knew that was Jason. And then this other image is Andre. And of course, if you didn't see the musical score, then you know that's Andre. You know, so the thing is that we need inspiration.
Right.
And our artists are the visionaries among us. They are the ones who inspire us to try harder, to be better, to do more. And it's a wonderful thing that artists sacrifice to do that, because very often artists are not businessmen. And so they don't make a good living doing what they do. yet they are the most valued among our people because their work is so valuable that other people steal it and send their children to college and buy their homes and go on their vacations and do all kinds of build companies and businesses. Our creativity is always the source of wealth for other people.
Right.
So we have got to corral that and make it a source of wealth for our own people. We have children we want to go to college.
That's right.
We have people we want to live indoors. You know, we want to ride to somewhere in an automobile and eat food and wear clothes and go on an occasional vacation. We are entitled to those things that sustain life and support life. And we are wealthy in terms of the talent among us.
You are so
So
right.
we have got to support that talent, and we've got to get that talent out. We have some of that talent in the studio.
We definitely
A
do.
lot of it right here.
Not just the two of you.
Well,
Oh,
So
no.
can we talk to some of the talented people we have available to talk to us?
I would like to just give an entree in regards to what these talented artists are doing in the near future.
Okay.
As curator of the South Shore Cultural Center, we have
Which is at 71st and
7059 South Shore Drive.
Okay.
And it's the South Shore Cultural Center Fine Art Gallery. And the exhibit that I'd like to speak about is a group show featuring the work of Deborah Hand, Mitch Melson, Jason E. Jones, and G.L. Smothers. And today we have a treat for you in that we'll be able to introduce the artists to you and show you a sample of their work so you can get a feel of what's to come, and that's the opening on May 31st, 2002. So without further ado, if we could introduce Mitch Melson. He's at the mic right now, and he has one of his wonderful pieces on display as well.
Mitch, talk to me about your work and tell me what inspires you to do it.
You basically already told the story. The story is one of spiritual
Hold
enlightenment.
it, I want to see it.
This is a piece of what we call U Tribe, the urban tribe. We are, for all practical purposes,
Can you turn away in the other direction?
Okay.
You
Turn around.
you need to turn.
Aha,
Okay,
there we go.
now. We
Okay.
want to see you now. Good. We
Now.
see you and now. Go ahead.
I represent the U Tribe, the urban tribe. And as I said, we all are the urban tribe by virtue of our living in this environment and being influenced by the signs and symbols of that environment. And what the work that I do, it represents a reminder of our past, a reflection of today, and a suggestion of tomorrow. And what I do with my work is try to encourage the development of a link to the past. That is, to name the piece for an ancestor and ask for ancestral help on a goal that you're working on. So every time you see the piece, you're reminded of this ancestral richness that we represent and the goal that you're working on. And what better inspiration than having ancestral, this ancestral linkage. So the work is the development of tribal pieces that reflect 21st century ideation.
Can you tell us a little about the mediums involved?
This is a
If
collection
you
of...
hold it higher in the air, we'll see more of it too.
Okay. This is a collection of...
That's a good shot.
a good collection of found objects, and most of my work is based on found objects and found art it's a collaboration, if you will. The other thing that I do is I try to collect objects out of the environment that really speak to some of what we're dealing with, and that is the whole issue of recycling. This piece here is pretty much all recycled objects that are all over the world. They're, believe it or not, these are pop cans, beer cans. And
Really?
Yes. and-
Okay.
So beautiful.
But to be able to
Amazing.
reflect some of what our issue is as a tribe, and that is that if we do not teach our children through recycling, they'll never learn the concept of pre-cycling. And if we don't pre-cycle, if our children don't learn to pre-cycle, we're dead as a tribe.
Well, talk to me about pre-cycling since you invented it.
Well, I didn't invent it, but I can tell you a little bit about it. It's just, it embraces the concept that if you're going to the grocery store. A good concept would be, you go to the grocery store, they'll ask you, is it going to be paper or plastic? Well, paper is a far better concept than the plastic because of fossil fuels. But thinking ahead with a cloth bag using neither is a pre-cycling idea, because there's no damage to the environment as a result of your having made a choice. So we must teach our children, but we never will teach our children to transform objects out of the environment into beauty, and perhaps not only saving the environment, but to think beyond themselves in terms of their own transformation, that to take objects that have little worth and turn them into art is a concept it's worth repeating, if you will.
Well, thank you so much. That was a little lesson in itself, in addition to the beautiful images. And I'm sure that when you're working, you have the ancestors working with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Andre,
Very nice piece.
you know, that was a perfect example of an artist as a human being. Because most of the time when people think about artists, they think about someone standing somewhere with a paintbrush or with some, media, and they're working on images. But artists, I have found, I love to hang out because you think, and that might sound a little bit crass, but artists think about issues. They think about social issues. They think the artists are not just people who are somewhere with a skill or a talent producing products for sale.
Right.
Artists are not just commodifiers of an environment. Artists think deeply, and what he just said was evidence of that. Pre-cycling, thinking before you make a choice as to what the long-term implications are of the choice that you're making, not only for yourself, but for others in this generation and beyond. Only an artist would think like that.
And it's very overwhelming, and there's a saying that the value or how great your artists are is also a reflection of how great your society is. And that's because artists do that. They sit and think about issues. We can transform something that has a definition already. Let's take just that example, a beer can, and then give it a new definition where it now becomes part of explaining something that will touch people in a way that makes them think differently about life. So our role is very substantial, but I think that's part of our blessing, because we don't have these gifts just to be here and
That's
do
why I
different
say it's
things.
spiritual.
It's very spiritual.
Well, I think we could probably talk to another of the artists who are going to be a part of the show on the 31st of May.
That's Jason E. Jones, and
Jason, it has got real high, taller than you.
How about that?
Now, I want to say something about this painting, because Jason had not done flowers before. I think when he did the Art Against AIDS, he had one painting there that was, I think, his maiden voyage into the botanical side of life. And now here he is with this beautiful, full-blown canvas. Is this a Cali lily,
Yes,
Jason?
Yes, it is.
Okay, you can let it down now and tell us. I see your classic gold leaf. You're always going to have some gold leaf.
Always.
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 Tell me about this piece and about the piece that I just told the audience about, that I choked on.
With Andre, the collaboration.
Yeah, you can get closer to the mic, I think.
I'm sorry. That was like he said, we kind of decided to do it before we went to Philly.
I want you into the mic a
You
little
want me
more.
into the mic? How's that?
Okay.
We decided to do a collaboration before we went to an art gallery in Philadelphia, and it was something that we kind of wasn't sure what we wanted to do, but both of our signature styles kind of took place in it, as far as my musical notes and Andre's piece with the texture and the musicians. So it was just a fabulous piece that turned out beautiful, and the results that we've been getting from it have been fabulous. Just like you, when you saw it, I mean, you thought you were falling out on the floor. So that's what we want as an artist. We like that feeling that we get when people see our work and appreciate it to that level.
Well, you know, I don't know how you decide what you're going to do when you're collaborating. I don't know whether you can, you know, assign this much of the canvas and say, okay, you paint on this part and then leave the rest for me, or how do you share?
Well, being the selfish person that I am, I decided that we both decided that we were just going to take half of the canvas and kind of mesh into each other's styles.
Okay.
With the sheet music, of course, it was kind of hard to just stop it at one point. So I kind of just started, because I was the first one who got the canvas, just started doing the sheet music and compositions. And then I gave it to Andre and let him be as creative as he wanted to be on the rest of the piece. So.
Okay. Well, you know, I'm very happy to know you guys. And I don't want the audience to think that all artists are men, because there are some lady artists out there. But some of the artists that are my favorite people are men, are male artists. And Andre is among those. And I thank you so much for bringing that piece in so we could see it. Now, this piece will be on exhibit at the Cultural Center on the 31st.
Correct.
And then the piece that I told you about that I gasped over, that will be there too, and others.
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
Now, the next artist I'd like to introduce you to is another wonderful artist that I've had the pleasure of knowing for quite some time, and I think that his maiden voyage to the South Shore Cultural Center's Fine Art Gallery will be one well received, and this is Mr. G.L. Smothers.
Mr. Smothers.
Hello.
Brilliant color. Brilliant color. Now see, I know Melvin wants to comment on this, because Melvin loves color.
Color's my thing. I like Gio's work too.
Do you? Okay, tell me about your work and how long have you been doing it?
Well, actually, this month will mark the anniversary of my being a professional artist. It'll be 8 years now.
Okay.
That I've been painting full time.
Okay.
So,
Very good.
And why?
why?
Yes. I like to catch artists off guard.
Well, to be honest with you, it was the previous gentleman spoke about it being a spiritual sort of a thing. It was like a calling for me, because I was destined to go into design, and as far as my educational background, it was actually while I was in college is when I got this artist bug, and then shortly after, I just let it take over me and decided to take a plunge in it. And,
Isn't it wonderful to have a calling?
Yeah.
You know, people always talk about they were called to preach.
Yes.
But you know, to be an artist, when you said it was a calling, meaning you didn't really have a choice.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
This is what you have to do. Hopefully you will eat as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Well.
Some
And
people
eat
never,
well.
Some people never find their calling. They search all their lives for that one thing that they're destined to do while they're on this planet. And as artists, that's one of the greatest gifts I think we could ever ask for, is to find that one thing that you know you can do well and you have control of your destiny with.
But you see, this is the point about artists being our leaders, our visionaries, to inspire us to do more and to do better, because there are these other people, these other voices are calling us to the corporate world. These other voices are calling us to work on jobs, you know, repeating the same carpal tunnel activity over and over again. The artist is saying, I want to create, I want to work for me. I want to express what I have. I want to do something that has not been done before. I don't know what that is, but I want to open myself up and let myself, I want to allow my spirit to be free, to express itself in whatever way it chooses. And so when you do it and you survive that experience, then you encourage those of us who are scared to come outside to come outside.
That's right.
Because we see that you can, in fact, do this and not perish.
Right.
Because most of us feel that if we don't have a regular 9 to 5,
that's right.
we will perish.
Right.
So those people who have said, well, whether I perish or not, I must do this, have shown us that that kind of surrender can be supported.
Stepping out in faith.
It is.
That's what it is.
Stepping out in
it's
faith.
stepping out on faith.
Taking that leap.
I thank you so much
Thank you.
for joining us.
And the last artist that I'd like to talk about isn't part of the group show at South Shore, but he is a team player on a board for bringing a fabulous fine art show to Chicago, and he's part of Raw, the event that Melvin King
Why
is
are
the
you
brainchild.
calling that raw? I had to ask Melvin. I had to stop and ask him because I meant to ask you this earlier.
That was the name that the board voted upon.
You on this board, Andre?
I am on this board.
Okay.
Yeah, the name means Real Artworks and Fine Arts Alliance. Real Artworks, and they picked that name.
Real Artworks.
Real
That's
Artwork.
what raw is.
They were
Real
thinking
Artwork.
about Raw Sienna, Raw Umber.
Okay.
You know, it was a group of artists there.
Okay.
And they all voted
right.
on that name.
Okay. Well, I'm down with that. All right.
You know, anything with an acronym
Yeah.
always seems to stick sometimes
Okay.
too, but it's much deeper than just the surface of raw and real artwork. It really is a great collaboration of wonderful artists coming together to sit down and approach it from a business sense. And Sebring Grant is one of the artists that is a part of that group, and he's actually here today, and I think he's brought some work with him. But as I'm talking, I really want to speak on the collaboration, because some of the artists that are part of Raw have also collaborated on a painting that I want to say 5 of us are working on. Is that correct? You, Floyd, Sebring,
It's 4, isn't it?
4 artists. So
Four
two was a challenge. 4 will really be a challenge, and that piece will be on exhibit at the actual event and also at the pre-kickoff to the event, which I'll
Will it
talk
be
about
for
more.
sale too?
It will
Yes, it
also
will.
be for sale.
Okay.
This is an idea, Dr. Peace, that I saw years ago down in Memphis, Tennessee.
My home.
Okay, but there's
Okay.
a couple of artists down there called the Twins.
All right.
Every painting they do, they do
They
together.
were in your last show in the Renaissance, weren't they?
No, not the Twins.
Okay. All right. I've
After
seen some
that,
twins
They're
somewhere.
very popular.
Yeah, they're very
Okay.
popular.
All right.
Then Gilbert Young and Charles Bibbs did a piece together.
Okay.
Then Pancho Brown and Charles Bibbs did a piece.
All right.
And Leroy Campbell and Pancho Brown did a piece.
Okay.
So I said, well, why don't we bring this to Chicago? So I brought the idea to Andre
And it's
Okay.
and the board members about doing it. And
Okay.
Andre and them did the first piece, and we're going to
Okay.
do the second one.
Okay.
But it's something you're going to be seeing, I think. At
So this is almost like mural art.
Yeah.
Okay.
in a sense, yeah, because you get the mural art tends to have a one common feel throughout, but I see it in the collaborations you see the different styles. But going to what you were speaking about as the role as an artist, artists tend to be islands. We work in a studio, we're all by ourselves.
Right.
But when we start doing things together, it starts to bring something about bringing these islands together. And let's start working together. I mean, this is, in a sense, a collaboration of your love meshing with the artist.
That's right.
And I think
That's
if
right.
we can constantly bring collaboration to the forefront in our society's mind, it really will help us to be a better people.
There's a spiritual aspect to that too. When 2 are gathered in my name,
I am there
That's
also.
right.
hello.
Okay?
Amen.
All right.
Okay.
So there's
Right.
another dimension.
Totally.
That's true.
When
Totally.
2 or more artists are working together, you have brought another dimension to this altogether. I'm
I hadn't
scared
thought
of you.
about that.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank you.
real
thought about
scared
that.
now.
Thank you.
Okay.
And
Sebron, I know you. How you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I love your work. You know I do.
Thank you very much.
You didn't bring Marvin Gaye this time. Who are these
no.
people?
No, I'm kind of late in the rest for now.
You overcome.
I got to move on.
Marvin. He's
Well, I
not
can't
haunting
obsess.
you.
That's right.
Okay.
I got to move on.
Tell us about these images.
Well, these images, the lady is titled "I Am Every Woman," and I did her in response to the little credit that I think that the women Afrocentric culture, they never get the just desserts that they should have, especially during Black History Month. That's what really got me, because you know Martin, Malcolm, Mandela. I mean, those are great men, and there are others that follow behind them. But it seems to me that most people act like they didn't have mothers. You know, somebody had to carry them to. You know, somebody had to carry them to term. Somebody had to raise them up to be the great men that they are. So that's why I had to do the women. And I started off doing a picture of every woman that I could think of, but then I would be, I would die before I finished. So I figured I'd pick, like you said, collaboration. I collaborated. I put my head together with my wife, and we thought we'll do one woman to represent all women. And then the title of Shaka Khan's hit, I'm Every Woman. Oh, that's it. So that's how that started.
Those are names in the hair.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, she had a head full of braids, and when I sell them, the buyers always. All I do is add another braid and just add another name, so I can add, maybe up to 30 names. And people have always asked me since '97, since its inception, where's the man? Where's the man? I can never get around to doing him because I'm doing everything else, doing other things. Life gets in the way. But I finally made myself do the man in February of this year.
Yes.
So now, so he's titled Every Mother's Son.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
So I have about 150 names on I'm Every Woman, and the man has about 105 names.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, beautiful.
And I figured I'd put them both together, have them facing one another while still looking up to God.
Yes. That's right. That's right.
And this
Excellent.
Excellent. If I may add one more thing, this thing kind of took on a meaning of its own, which I didn't think of at first. People tell me now they look at it like this is a Black heritage piece. Because I've talked with a woman. I did about 5 for her for one Christmas, and she told me that her one of her aunties already passed. So she said she had missed getting one for that Christmas because she was giving them to everybody else. Now she's got the one that her auntie handed down to her. So it's already taking place,
Okay.
generation to generation to generation to generation.
Okay, so it's an heirloom.
Yes.
Okay. You love musicians. You do
Yes.
a lot of stuff with musicians.
Yes, I do.
You had me stumbling around the park over there when was it Coltrane that you had out that day?
Coltrane and Marvin Gaye and Mirror.
Yes.
Yes.
You just can't do that.
Well, I'm gonna do it to you some more. I got Ray Charles, Duke Ellington, Miles Davis, Billie Holiday. They'll all be ready for the South Shore Raw Art Fair we're gonna have.
Okay. Are
Yes.
you doing some in Mirror?
Oh yes, they're all gonna be in Mirror.
They all will be in Mirror.
4 feet tall, 3 feet wide. Yeah.
Yeah, and you see, what you do is you give us the enough of it for us to fill in the rest. You allow us to be part of the artwork.
I challenge people to
because
think.
I looked at this and I said, Marvin,
Yeah.
But yet you didn't just draw Marvin out,
Yeah.
eyebrow for eyebrow.
Yes.
You suggested him very strongly, and there he was,
Yes.
Yes.
I believe in challenging people. Every now and then people come up and challenge me and ask me, why I did this here, and why isn't this guy black, or why isn't this here guy, got a bigger nose, and why does he look like he might be white? I mean, and I'm always, I find myself on the offensive a lot. So I said, I know what I'll do. I'll put up a little barrier, a middle barrier around myself, and I will have the answers before they come up with the questions. So that is the way I started doing my artwork.
Well, refer him to God. Tell him to ask God why you did it. You don't know.
Well, I just love to challenge people to think and come and ask me. Because I'm like a can of worms, you open me up and I can talk to you, just beg me to sit down. If we're talking about art and life and God, I'll just talk to you, just ask me to just be quiet.
Are you telling me I should ask you to be quiet?
No, ma'am. I love to talk.
Is there something over there behind you that
Yes,
I want to see?
I'm not sure if my colleagues would want me to show it here, but I guess.
No.
They don't want you to show it. They want you to keep it for a
No,
surprise.
this is really a work in progress that we have here.
Yeah, right.
And I only brought it to deliver to
all
Melvin.
right. Okay, so
Yes.
this the big surprise.
Yes.
You got to come to the show, right?
yes.
That's right.
Otherwise, you'll never know what's behind
You
that
sure
camera.
won't.
Right, we can't show
That's
Okay.
right. And that's our collaboration. And this, I didn't cozy up to it too fast when I heard it. But
Okay.
the more I got into it, and the more I saw it, and the more they kept putting pressure on me. Hurry up and do your part, man. You got to pass this on to somebody
I
else.
just want you to have a respirator in there for me. Because see, I don't handle trauma too well.
Well,
And
we
when
gonna
I
put-
get a shock to my system, I'm likely to register something. So just have some oxygen and stuff so that I won't
Smelling
go
salts or
out.
something, okay.
Okay. All right, Andre,
Thank you.
back to you.
Well, I would like to get down to the business of giving the information to your audience so that the next time they see you, they will have been on a date with you in person, because so many times they come and they sit down and see your show and they think, here I am on another date with Dr. Peace and I missed it.
Okay, okay, they stood me up
Stood me up. Dr.
because
Peace,
they didn't know they were going.
they didn't know they were going. And the old saying, you don't know what you don't know, is alive and well. So I'd like
Okay,
to
so
give you
give
some
the particulars.
particulars about a couple upcoming shows. One coming up Friday, May 3rd through Sunday, May 5th is the Sister Friends 2002 Afrocentric Fine Arts Show in Bloomington, Illinois. Now, many people may think Bloomington, Illinois, but this has to be one of the classiest fine art venues that I've participated in my 12 years of doing shows and being a professional artist. And what's really phenomenal about this show is it's in the old Wrigley Mansion. So the setting is simply magnificent. And what they do for a weekend is they change that mansion into a elaborate art gallery. And they invite artists from around the country, and they, each of them have a room which is a mini gallery, and they have some of the finest work that I've seen at many of the fine art shows around the country. And that, once again, is May 3rd through the 5th, and some of the artists featured this year are Deborah Hand, Jason E. Jones, Jimmy Claybrooks from Huntsville, Alabama, Ted Ellis from League City, Texas, myself, Andre Guichard, Nicole Smith of Nicole Smith Gallery, Dudley Moore of Moore Gallery in Birmingham, Michigan, and Steve Hazard of Steve Hazard Art and Designs from San Marcos, California. So you have a nice selection of artists from around the country, and it's a great treat. And I look forward to you showing the audience who isn't able to come what they missed again.
Well, certainly, I'm going to take my audience out on a date, and we're going to show them that show as well. And hopefully we'll be able to do that very soon, because I really, you know, I really don't like to delay things. If I promise the audience that I'm going to bring something, I like to bring it while they can still remember to expect it, so that they can enjoy it even more. But savor these things, because I'm going to take you out on dates, and sometimes I'm going to tell you when I'm going to take you, and other times I'm just going to show up at your door, and you'll have to be ready. But we have Melvin, Melvin King, who again is, you know, one of my favorite artists in the whole wide world. Because he always gives us these images of ourselves in church, and we always have the memories of when we were in church and people were shouting and all of the things that go on, and he keeps us mindful of a period in our history which is, it seems not to be as pervasive as it was. It seemed to be more common in the rural South, and it seemed to be more common in my day. Now, I may be wrong about that, but as long as we have Melvin King, we're not going to forget that period, because Melvin is going to keep putting it before us. Now, when you do this raw art exhibit at the South Shore Cultural Center, and that's July
26th, 27th, and 28th.
That's a weekend.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay, will there be an opening reception?
Yes, we're going to do an opening reception.
I'll speak on
Andre's
that.
going to speak on that, because he's putting that together as we sit
Okay,
here.
he's the curator of that show too?
Well, one of the treats that the center, in collaboration with Raw, is doing this year is we're hosting the pre-kickoff reception for the Raw Fine Art Fair.
Okay.
That event will take place July 12th, which is the Friday before
Okay.
the kickoff.
the kickoff. And what we'll be doing is it'll be free to the public. live entertainment, free food, a speech, or actually I guess I want to say this right because this is going to be something that you don't see often. Samuel Kenya is going to be the keynote.
I know he has a
speaker.
gallery.
He has a gallery here in Chicago, and he will be the keynote speaker for our event at the opening reception.
Okay.
In addition to that, we'll have works on display for 1 month in the gallery, in the main gallery, in the lobby gallery.
All right.
That will be on exhibit for 1 month.
All right.
And it will feature works from artists who are participating in the event in the upcoming fair. So what you'll have is a preview at the reception. We'll send out invitations if anyone would like one mailed to them for the kickoff. They can call the Cultural Center or call you, and we'll make sure we get that to them. But what I think is really important about that is we'll be celebrating something that's really special for this city. And if you had the privilege of attending last year's event at Chicago State University,
the Renaissance,
which is where RAW kind of came from. The Arts Committee is actually the board that has created RAW. So we've started a track record of bringing a type of show that we normally only get to see when we go to other cities.
All right.
And that includes bringing artists to Chicago, such as Charles Bibbs, Annie Lee, Othello Beck, Wack,
Gilbert Young,
Buck Brown, just some of your nationally known, internationally known artists, in addition to some of your emerging artists here in the city and locally known artists, and you bring them all to one place, and you are, as a collector, you are in a position to where you have all types of styles and all types of mediums, all types of subject matter, and going
age ranges, different age
just
ranges.
age ranges, and going to the theme of this show, it will allow anyone who has the time to come and experience the beauty of our society. And it is such a treat when you walk and you see all this talent, booth by booth, from different parts of the country and with different experiences, and you'll see that it'll touch you in a way that you realize that art is spiritual, and it motivates you and it inspires you to want to collect and get a piece of that for yourself and your
Dare
family.
I ask about the entertainment? Chamber music or jazz?
We're going to have cello player.
Cello player.
We're going to have a violinist.
A violinist.
And what's that, harp?
A harp.
Those three things I was told that today.
Okay,
by
can
one
we
of my
have
people.
some jazz?
Definitely have jazz.
It's going to be jazz,
Definitely have jazz. At the reception, the kickoff to this event, the formal reception,
Okay.
it will be an elegant event, and live jazz
Melvin,
will definitely
You
be a
get
part
to
of
tell
that.
you, Mike.
Live
Okay.
jazz will definitely be a part of that
Okay.
venue, and it will be a classy event for sure.
Okay.
I want to add also that.
Well, you're supposed to be talking. You
I know,
you
I know.
want to add. You want to
I
tell me
I didn't
about
want to cut
Rob.
in on him.
Okay.
But most of these artists that are coming, I kind of handpicked.
Okay.
And I handpicked them for a reason because they have different styles.
Okay.
I didn't bring in too many artists who have the same styles. Like
All
I
right.
wouldn't bring Albert Fennell in with Charles Bibbs because their styles are very close.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and but I picked Wack. Wack has started
I
a
don't
whole
know
new
who Wack
school.
is, do I?
Wack paints in airbrush, and this
Okay.
is a whole new
Chicago, but he
school
went to Atlanta.
of young
Okay.
artists is trying to be like Wack now.
Okay.
So I've gotten consent from him to come in. He's a very brilliant young man, and
Okay.
he's been very fortunate enough to make quite a few millions of dollars now.
Oh, well, you know, we have to have him
Yeah.
on the show.
But he's going to be speaking to a lot of these artists that's trying to get to where he's at. He's going
Okay.
to kind of tell them what they have to do
Okay.
in order to get to that point. Gilbert Young is a very prolific speaker about the arts also. He taught art at Ohio State University.
Okay.
So he's going to be speaking, and Samuel's going to be speaking
Okay.
the night of the 12th
Okay.
also.
All right. So,
So
we're
we
going
kinda
to
try to
have
mix it up a
we're
little
going to
bit.
have refreshments, we're going to have entertainment, we're going to have art, we're going to have the beautiful people.
Definitely.
And are some of the beautiful people here? I think I see a beautiful person named Raymond Mays over there. I want to talk to you in a minute, Raymond. But you and Melvin and Andre, part of that. Jason Jones, name the people who are in the studio who are part of that.
In the studio, Jason Jones, definitely Mitch Melson, and we're talking to GL. I think we might be able to twist his arm and bring him out into the forefront a little more, and definitely Sebring Grant.
Okay.
So we're talking about a collaboration, going back to the collaboration of artists from around the country, definitely around the city, and starting to approach the arts from a more of a business standpoint, so that all these creators, Children's
Gallery, I heard that.
Yes, and
you said a children's gallery.
For the first time, we're going to have a children's gallery.
This is.
How do you have a children's gallery? You have children's work?
Children's artwork.
Oh my goodness gracious!
I'll try to give you a small idea of it.
Your grandkid is going to have a piece in there too.
Brian?
Yes.
Oh, Brian is going to exhibit in the children's gallery.
We'll have that whole facility the day. Well, we'll have all the ballrooms.
Okay.
And one of the rooms will be designated as a children's gallery, so we can empower our youth to
let them come in.
See themselves as future artists, put their work on display, let them get the
How
feedback.
are you recruiting your student artists?
I have some kids coming from CAR, which they deal with handicapped children.
Okay.
I went to one of their fundraisers not too long ago.
Okay.
And the art was just magnificent. You wouldn't think kids did that art. And plus handicapped kids.
Okay.
So I hooked up with those people. They have maybe about 3 or 4
Okay.
of their kids.
What art are you? What forms? You're doing painting? Are you doing ceramics?
Ceramics.
Are you doing
sculpture?
Sculpture.
Yeah. This as long as they're kids up to say 17, 18 years old.
Okay. Okay. All right.
And as long as the art is decent.
Okay. All right.
We even have one of our board members is willing to do the matting of the artwork.
Oh.
Yeah, he's going to donate the mats. He'll mat up all the artwork.
Okay, because children don't know how to get that done.
They don't know how to do that.
Okay. That is wonderful. That is marvelous. I love it.
It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful event, and I'm just happy to be a part of it and helping to bring that type of show to Chicago. And I look forward to seeing definitely everyone who's watching today, July 25th, 26th, and 27th, and don't miss the reception on July 12th. It'll kind of be the pre-teaser. We'll actually have work on exhibit for a month in both of the galleries so that you can get a taste of what's to come, but definitely do not miss the big grand finale.
Well, we're going to show them some of what you have done in the past, so that they will know that they can expect something really wonderful from you. You see, so you know, we can take them back to the Renaissance, and we can take them back to the gallery for Gallery 2001.
Wonderful.
We certainly can. But before we go, I do want to make certain that I zero in on something that you keep referring to. You keep talking about collectors. And I think that most lay people don't see themselves as collectors because we are taught how to save money. And the way that you save money is you put a little something in the bank and you let it draw interest. We never think about investing as a way of acquiring wealth. Until we have to stumble up on 2 dimes before we can even think in the area of investing. But art is the most solid, among the most solid of investments, because art never depreciates.
That's right.
Never.
Always appreciates. And if you learn, if you actually go out and visit galleries, gallery owners such as Nicole Smith will teach you how to look at art and how to assess its value so that at some point you will know how to invest in art. So you can have money invested in art that will be frozen in time, so to speak, so that it isn't losing its value, and in fact is appreciating in its value. And our people need to think about that too.
Definitely.
Because we do invest in a lot of things, but most of them deteriorate as we drive them off the showroom floor.
I think the beauty is no one would want to put a stock certificate on their wall. Whereas with artwork, if you look at just any of these artists here in the studio today, if you think about if you had purchased one of their originals, say 5 years ago, the percentage increase in the value today would be far greater than any other type of investment tool that they could have put their money in. Example, the stock market probably has a 15 to 20% return, even in those high periods, where you'll see artists' works appreciate at 100% in some cases, and it keeps growing. And you think about these Picassos. At some point, some family purchased that work at a nominal fee, where now it's selling for millions of dollars. That same thing will happen in our community with our artists. And it's just a matter of taking the time to learn about the mediums, the artists, find what you like, get a bio on your artist, start following him in his career around, and you'll be amazed at how that piece you purchased 5 years ago you couldn't buy 5 years later.
And it doesn't have to be an original all the time either. It could be a reproduction, limited edition reproduction, as long as you have the signature of that artist. And a lot of people don't realize that if they have an original that reproductions have been made off of, each time a reproduction is sold, the value of that original goes up. And this is something that the artists have to teach people.
Well, you know, it's unfortunate that in the public schools, the emphasis on art has, well, the art is de-emphasized because the funding for music and art is nil to, there may be a little, but from what I'm hearing from people like Malachi Thompson, that our community is underfunded, if funded at all, with respect to cultural activity, art, and so forth. And so our children don't learn to appreciate art.
No.
They don't learn to create art. And certainly if you don't start somewhere early on, then when they become adults, they don't know how to appreciate art. And I've seen people come into galleries and they walk past beautiful works of art as though they're walking down the, you know, walking through a cafeteria looking at French fries, you know, mashed potatoes, as though you could take one look at it and you automatically know what's there. No, you don't. You have to spend some time with a work of art before you actually get the value of what is before you. And sometimes you have to go away from it and come back and look at it again, because sometimes what is there, not everything that is there reveals itself to you.
That's true.
You know, I remember, and this analogy is not far-fetched, I tried to read African poetry. There was an African that I knew who wrote poetry, and I could not read his poetry well. So he suggested to me that I do some reading on African writing. So I spent about 2 months just reading African writers, and when I came back, I could, because I had the references, I could read his poetry and I could read all sorts of other things. You can't always see an artwork if you have not spent some time looking at art and trying to gather what is being said to you, because something is being told to you. A voice is speaking to you. And if you spend enough time with art, you will get messages. Felicia Grant Preston is a person who you could easily walk past some of her pieces. But then when you come back and you look, you can see moving figures and so forth and so on. So it's an interesting thing that we want to have our people love art and appreciate it and invest in it, but on the other hand, we are not teaching our children. Right. You know, and so the fact that you're having a children's gallery.
That's why I'm doing the children's gallery.
And unfortunately during July, I guess we don't have school in full session, but there ought to be some summer schools.
Right.
There ought to be some schools open and some daycare and some summer day camps and stuff. These children ought to be invited to come.
Because it'll be an influence.
That's right.
And to watch these older
Professional,
artists,
right.
and they can ask questions. You know, that was one of the things I couldn't do as a kid. I had nobody to ask anything.
And you still don't have anybody
No,
to ask
I still
anything.
don't have anybody, really. Had nobody, and I said, you know, we got to get these kids involved, you know. Start them off young, you know.
Would you believe that if our children had creative things to do with their time, they would find less time for destructive
They
activity?
sure would. They sure would.
Well, let me share experience with you. I work with Gallery 37 in the in-schools program, and this is an experience at Inglewood that I had the pleasure of embracing. And the arts in our schools are just so put on the back burner. And when they get a chance to really create, some of the works that they create are just phenomenal. And it just goes to show that talent that's in there is just waiting to be tapped.
They might have some kids we could use.
Yeah. So you know, let's mine the community. Let's go out with Geiger counters and let's find our creative people, and especially our young people, and encourage them and get them involved, get them, you know, to participate, get them to come to enjoy, and try to do what we can to introduce beauty into the lives of our young early on, so that they will have an appetite for it.
Nice.
I'm glad you came, Andre.
I'm glad to be here.
Guichard.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you came, Melvin
really am.
King.
I enjoy this.
Don't we
every time
enjoy
I come.
ourselves when we get
Yes,
together?
we do, because you're talking about something I like to talk about.
And you know, this is a subject worthy of talking about. In our own images, we will define ourselves. We will say who we are.
Definitely.
Our artists will put our face before us, and we will never forget who we are. We will not live according to these stereotypes.
That's right.
Because if we spend all our time watching the media, which, you know what I learned just recently? That black adults spend more time watching television than black children. And black children spend much too much time watching television. So if the image that we have of who we are is coming from the media, how can we expect to rise to the greatness?
You got that right.
We must, our artists must help us to transcend these stereotypes.
Can I give a phone number?
You can give
to
mine.
artists?
You can give
They can
mine.
call you directly?
Yeah, they can call me
Okay.
directly at
If they're interested.
708-747-2973, and I can put you in touch with Melvin King.
Wonderful.
Because I'm sure that there are going to be people who are going to say, I want my child to exhibit in this. But, you know, not every child has reached the level of capability to be exhibiting. But we will certainly put you in touch with Melvin and put you in touch with Andre so that you can participate. Thank you so much. Join us again on, what days are we here? Fridays at 8:30, and we repeat on Sundays at 3:30 on Channel 19. Thank you.
Thank you very much.